Who died? Jim Bob Duggar house fire. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For Duggar family latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. The heat was unbearable even at midnight. The Arkansas sky, usually cool and quiet at this hour, was painted red with fire. Sirens howled across the rolling countryside, disturbing the eerie calm that had settled over Tawny Town. Something unimaginable had happened. Jim Bob Duggar's house was on fire. For most of the locals, the Duggars were more than just neighbors. They were celebrities, legends of large family living known nationwide through reality TV. But fame hadn't shielded them from this tragedy. By the time the fire trucks arrived, half of the 7,000-foot house was gone. Flames licked at the edges of what had once been the cheerful center of a 19-child household. The air reeked of burning wood and melted memories. And amidst the chaos, a horrifying truth emerged. Someone was missing. The spark. Earlier that day, Michelle Duggar had been admitted to the local hospital with complaints of chest pain and dizziness. Jim Bob had driven her there himself. Just a precaution, he told the worried children before speeding off with his wife. Back at the house, the older Duggar siblings, Jessa, Jana, John, David, and Joanna, had stepped in to manage the younger ones. It was a warm summer evening full of giggles, chores, and family dinners. No one noticed the faint smell of smoke in the air. At 8:46 p.m., the first explosion was heard, shook the windows, and sent birds flying from the treetops. Jana ran to the hallway and screamed, "Fire! Everyone out, now!" Into the flames. Chaos erupted. Children scrambled in all directions, grabbing stuffed animals, pets, and one another. John David, a trained pilot and volunteer firefighter, dashed into action. He pulled out the fire extinguisher, tried to locate the source, but it was too late. The fire had started in the basement, and the old wiring that had never been replaced was feeding the inferno. "We have to get out," he shouted, carrying 8-year-old Josie in his arms, outside barefoot and trembling. The family gathered. One by one, they accounted for everyone until they realized someone wasn't there. Jason. 21-year-old Jason Duggar, quiet, thoughtful, and fiercely loyal, had been in the garage working on his motorcycle. John David didn't wait. He ran back into the house against the shouts of the fire department. The flames were blending, the smoke thick as syrup. He screamed Jason's name until his throat burned. But there was no response. When he finally stumbled back outside, empty-handed and coughing black, he collapsed to his knees. That I couldn't find him all. Over. The next morning, the fire was out, but the damage was catastrophic. The house was gone, burned to the foundation. All that remained were scorched beams, warped metal, and ash. The family stood in silence, staring at what used to be their home. The familiar driveway, once a symbol of bustling life, now led to ruins. And worse, Jason was still missing. Rescue crews combed through the debris, section by section. Hours passed, then a call came. Body found. A wave of grief crushed the family like a tidal force. Michelle, just released from the hospital, collapsed again on the scene and was immediately rushed back. Jim Bob held her hand, face pale as moonlight. He couldn't speak. Just the remains were confirmed to be Jason's. The headlines began to spread all over. Duggar tragedy as fire claims life. Michelle hospitalized again after son's death. Jim Bob's house in ashes. What caused the blaze? Secrets in the ashes. While the public mourned, investigators dug deeper. Something about the fire didn't sit right with the local fire chief. Yes, the wiring was old, but the way the fire spread, the pattern, It felt intentional. 3 days later, arson was confirmed. The fire hadn't started by accident. Someone had poured accelerant near the electrical panel. The fire had been set. Shock rippled through the Duggar family. Who would do this? Joanna whispered. But the deeper question wasn't who, it was why. A hidden life. As the investigation intensified, more revelations came. Jason's phone was recovered near the garage, mostly destroyed, but the SIM card survived. Investigators retrieved messages, voice memos, and a strange recording from just 48 hours before the fire. If anything happens to me, check Dad's old study. There are things you need to know. The family was stunned. What was Jason talking about? In a metal safe buried in the ruins of the old study, they found it. A flash drive labeled Duggar Secrets for Truth. Inside were files, hundreds of them, old documents, emails, photos, financial statements, and a journal. Jason had been digging into the family legacy, and he discovered something terrifying. For years, there had been tensions in the Duggar world, secrets buried, controversies avoided. But Jason had uncovered proof of shady real estate deals, shell companies in other states, and the name of a person the family hadn't spoken to in years. Josh Duggar, the return of the prodigal. Josh had been exiled from the family after his scandals, forced into silence. But according to Jason's notes, he had returned to the area weeks before the fire. There were sightings, security footage, and money trails that suggested someone was funneling funds through companies that Jason believed were tied to Josh. Had Jason discovered something that got him killed? Did Josh come back for revenge or to cover his tracks? No one knew for sure, but the evidence was damning. Michelle, still recovering in the hospital, wept when she heard the full story. "He was trying to protect us," she whispered. Jason wanted to clean the family name. Jim Bob, devastated and silent for days, finally broke down. "I should have told him. I should have been honest." But honest about what? Truth and fire. The Duggar family held a private memorial for Jason, away from the media. Hundreds came, fans, friends, neighbors. All mourning the quiet young man who had been more than just a name on a show. He had been the one trying to change the future. And in a final twist, the investigation turned up a grainy security clip from the night of the fire. A figure, hoodie pulled tight, leaving the garage minutes before the flames erupted. The figure matched Josh Duggar's build, but he had vanished again, and no arrests were made. Rising from the ashes. In the months that followed, the Duggars left Tawnytown. The land where the house stood was bulldozed, seeded with grass. A plaque was placed in the soil in memory of Jason Duggar. 2003-2025. A seeker of truth. Michelle recovered, though her heart remained broken.